The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. This is Jay from Shopworks, and I want to thank you for taking your time out today to attend our webinar. It's a subject I'm kind of excited about, and that's 5 ways to reduce labor, of course, in your business. If you've never attended one of our webinars before, the way it works is number one is you can hear me. I cannot hear you. However, I do want to encourage you to ask questions. And you'll notice there's a question pane or a little question box that's part of the GoToWebinar experience. And throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please ask them. And I will reserve time at the end of the presentation to answer as many questions as I can. We're going to try to stick to an hour today, so we're going to try to wrap up by 3 o'clock. The other thing is these presentations are recorded. If you'd like a link to the recording of this presentation, if you want to review it or if you want to share it with employees or whatever, just send me an email after the presentation and I'll send you the link tomorrow. We won't have it ready till tomorrow. And my email is just my name, Jay, and it's at Shopworks, and that's spelled SHOPWOR, but there's no KS, it's just X.com. So Jay at Shopworks with an X.com if you want the video, or really if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. And let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about myself quickly. I was originally trained as an engineer. I worked in the aerospace industry as a young man. When I was 25 years old, I started my own apparel and promotional products business. I owned that for 10 years. And when I started, of course, it was just me. And then I grew it to about 16 employees when I sold the business. I sold that business in the early 2000s. Now, I've been the owner of Shopworks, the software company, from 1998 to today. I started with myself, and we've been at our max 20 employees. We're around 15 employees today. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because I've been working in small business my whole life, or all my working life. So everything I'm going to show you today is kind of my perspective as a small business owner who went from a single operator myself to kind of growing my business. And a lot of this stuff was learned from the challenges I had in growing my business. And of course, like a lot of us, I was bootstrapped, meaning I didn't have $1 million to invest in staff or resources. So I kind of just had to learn things on my own. So that's my perspective. I'm sure there's other perspectives, but I'm not coming at you from the angle of a big company or a big corporation. My perspective is mostly for small business, which I know all of you guys are in. So let's first quickly talk about some important concepts. Why are we here today? Well, we're here today because something about this webinar resonated with you because there is a labor shortage. That's real. It's not going away soon. And I feel like small businesses are hit even harder than large businesses because each employee that you have is a bigger percentage of your workforce. So if you lose an employee, if you have trouble getting an employee, that could be anywhere from 10% to 20% to 5% of your workforce. It's a lot. If you're working at Amazon and they lose an employee, that's 1/10,000th of their workforce or whatever the number is. Also, you have to compete wage-wise with these larger companies. Larger companies can afford to pay more than we can, smaller companies. The other thing is because of the industry that you're in, the custom products industry or embellished products industry, um, they're complicated businesses. Your business is hard and difficult to run. And so they don't really work well with plug and play employees. It's much easier to plug an employee into McDonald's or Amazon than it is into one of our type of a small business operation. And so as a business owner or operator or manager, you must adjust to this. You must adjust to this real labor shortage that's not going away soon. If not, you're going to affect profitability at the minimum, and at the maximum, you could even jeopardize your survival. So that's number one. Important concept number two, and I know you guys know this, but humans are expensive, and they're getting more so. As inflation goes up, as competition for employees goes up, wages go up. And it's not just wages. It's the workspace that you have to provide for them. It's paid time off and other benefits. It's the fact that employees must be managed. It takes people to manage people. So the more people you have, the more people you need to manage those people. And as we know, people aren't 100% reliable, not even myself. We have sick days. We have days we're not feeling as well. And then there's the PETA factor. PETA factor is pain in the arse factor. Listen, I love my employees. They're great, but there are times where you get frustrated with your employees. And whenever I hire an employee, I tell them if I could replace people with robots, I would, because I'm just being honest with them. But I do enjoy working with people, but they can be a pain in the arse. That's concept number 2. Humans are expensive. Number 3 is time does equal money. Um, so I know everybody knows this. Everybody's heard this from their parents or grandparents that time equals money. They've seen it on TV shows. But people, business owners need to understand labor is not a fixed cost. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people I talk to on the phone, when we first talk to a prospect or somebody who's interested in our software, they think of employees as fixed costs, meaning I have them here. I'm paying them to be here. So if they can only do 5 of operation A in an hour, what do I care if they can do 5 or 10 as long as the work's getting done? They're already here. So it really doesn't matter if they go faster or slower. And that is really very outdated thinking. And it's not at all how a business really works. You need to think of your employees have an hourly value in dollars. And if something takes longer, then that's costing you more money. And the reason why is because if they weren't doing that, they could do something else or they could do more of the same thing. If you don't look at it through that lens, then nothing I'm going to say to you is going to make sense because your response to everything is going to be, oh, well, they're here, so it really doesn't matter. I'm already paying for them to be here, so you're not really saving me money. But it is saving you money. So anyhow, that's important concept number 3. Important concept number 5 is fixed cost items. This is just more of a discussion. So typically these are investments in your business. If you run a screen printing shop and you go out and buy an automatic press that speeds up your production. So instead of doing 20 shirts an hour, you can do 400 shirts per hour. That's an investment in your business and it's a fixed cost for the most part. Fixed costs typically are a large upfront cost and then a smaller maintenance cost or something like that. So with the press, you still have to pay for maintenance. You got to pay for electricity. There's still some cost associated with it, but most of the cost is upfront. And typically these items can be worthwhile for your business if the investment speeds up something or saves costs elsewhere, or if it can increase sales. So I know you guys are familiar with this concept. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. That's our fixed cost items. And then I'm going to throw at you 2 musts before we get into this too much. The first must that you need to understand if you want to reduce labor in your business is you must spend time and money to make it happen. If you're not willing to spend some of your time to reduce labor costs, if you're not willing to spend some money to reduce labor costs, then it's just not going to happen. Your labor costs are not going to go down because employees voluntarily agree to take less money. And your labor costs are not going to go down because your employees suddenly start working faster, which, it doesn't really reduce your labor costs, but it increases the amount. It reduces your labor costs per unit produced. So none of those things are going to happen. So unless you spend time and money to make it happen, it's not going to happen. And then the second part is change. If you're not willing to change, don't embark on this journey. Because if you feel like you're good where you are, then and you're not willing to change and your staff's not willing to change, excuse me, you're going to find the things that I'm going to go through in this rest of this presentation very difficult for you and your staff to swallow. So these might seem like pretty basic things, but I just want to get out there on the front end here of this presentation. All right, so now let's get into my 5 ways to reduce. Okay, and I'm going to go through these pretty quick. I got some little pointers on some of them. I'm going to have a poll for you here in a second. But the first one I'm going to talk about is procedures. And if you've been around Shopworks for a while or watched any of our presentations, we have specific presentations just on procedures. And we mention procedures a lot when we're doing other presentations. And it's boring. It's a boring subject, and I mention that every time. But procedures aren't boring because they make you money. That's a fact. They standardize how employees are trained. They standardize internal operations. They standardize how you look and communicate with customers. And all those are benefiting your business. So let's talk about reducing labor though. How can procedures be used to reduce labor? And I'm going to give you a real world example. I've used this one before, but Shopworks has been around for over 20 years. So when we first brought on a new support technician, somebody that works with customers on how to use their system and training and that sort of thing, they would come into our office, and on day 1 we'd sit down and we'd kind of tell them how things went, and then we would sit with them and we would show them what to do. Oh, this customer's calling, okay, put them on hold, let's go over it, and then let me show you how to do that, and then you watch me and observe, and then you'll learn that way. And that's a very labor intensive way to train people, and it's costs you money. So after maybe 5 or maybe 10 years, I don't even know, we started proceduralizing the training program. We actually made an internal training program for a new support technician. It involved watching videos. It involved entering orders into our system. It involved doing certain things. Then we would test them. Once we test them, they kind of knew the basics. Okay, now let's get you on calls. Okay, this is how we handle calls. This is what we do if a customer's angry. This is what we do if a customer's happy. And this was all part of a training program that was documented into a procedure. So in the old way of doing it, it would take us probably 90 days before a support technician could take a call. In the new method, it takes less than 30 days for them to be able to take a call. Sometimes it can even be as low as 2 weeks. So that's real that's real money back in your pocket, because that person, instead of them just spending money on training, a quarter of a year in the old method I would spend on training, now we'd have them up and running in a couple weeks. And so that's real savings, because now they're being a productive employee. I would love to spend an hour on procedures, but we can't today. We have other resources on that. So feel free to send me an email if you're interested in those links. The cost investment of procedures is low, so it doesn't really cost much money. Your procedures are basically Word documents. However, your time investment is high. Procedures takes a lot of time. You got to think about it. You got to put them together. That doesn't mean that they're not worth it. They are worth it. And if you're don't have some procedures in your company, then you're kind of really hurting yourself. Now, one thing about procedures, they do require management and employee buy-in. And I'll just be straight up front with you. If the employees are not bought into the procedures and why it benefits them and your company, they will fight you on it. I've seen it firsthand. So what I'm going to do right now, I got a quick poll for you. I'm launching it right now. Give me 1 second. There you go. So you'll see up on your screen, how good is your company at procedures? I'd like you to chime in on that poll. So obviously it's all in our heads means kind of 0% and then up to 70%. I just want to get a feel for where you guys are at with this. I'd appreciate it if you could take a couple seconds, just click on those buttons for me. And I'm going to share the results with you here in a couple seconds. I see almost half of you have voted. If I could get everybody else chiming in, I'd appreciate it. And we're going to end this in 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let me close the poll. And I'm going to share the poll results with you. So, okay, that's great. It's all in our heads is 0%. That's really good. Usually when I talk about procedures, we have, maybe that might be in the 10 or 15% range. Some is 25%, and that's 44% of you. The bulk of you are in that category. Then we have some procedures, maybe 40%, which is 16%. And then actually really good is people 50% to 70% is 32% of you. That's great. Okay, so I feel like I'm dealing with a little bit higher level crowd here as far as procedures go. And 8% of you said that you're procedure rock stars, which is 70% plus. So okay, so I'm already talking to a crowd that's kind of gets most of the procedure stuff. But remember, you can always do better there. Procedures is a never-ending thing for your entire career. We wrestle with it at Shopworks all the time. We're constantly redoing procedures and coming up with new ones. Number 2 thing to reduce labor is eliminate paper. Paper's not just killing trees, it's killing your business. And the reason why is because it's slow. Paper is slow. I'm not talking about the cost of the physical paper. I'm talking about the time it takes your staff to process things via paper. So it's very slow. It's prone to errors. And more as our society gets younger and younger, I'm 56. So relative to myself, as everybody gets younger portion of our workforce, they're not as comfortable with paper as old folks like me are. They're more comfortable with electronic stuff. So that's just going to continue in the future. 5 years from now, paper is going to be less relevant, and 10 years from now, even less relevant. Now, the cost factor to eliminate paper is pretty low, typically. Your time investment could be low to high, and actually cost investment could be low to high, depending on what you're trying to do. Eliminating paper actually crosses over some of these other things that we're talking about. And the way to eliminate paper in your shop is not to try to do it all at once. It's to start small and work your way up. So you're going to start in your office, get your office as paper-free as possible, then move to, if you have a production facility, you'd move to your production facility. Now let's get them as paper-free as possible. So just start small and work your way up. And kind of one of the things I wanted to show you today is one of the things that I'm in love with as a business owner is these desktop scanners. Now, I know most of you have scanners in your art department or flatbed scanners. And I know there's even flatbed scanners that have feeders on them. I found all of these to be very poor. They don't work well. My preference is these. They're like little portable or desktop scanners. I love the I'm not gonna be able to say it. The ScanSnap. How about that? I can say ScanSnap. I like the ScanSnap. That's the one I have on my desktop. It's a little bit more expensive. I've also used that Epson portable one. That's a good one too. And what they all are really good is they'll take between 1 and 15 pages of anything, and they'll convert it to a PDF kind of automatically and plop it somewhere. And there's settings in there, there's options and all that sort of stuff. But they're very easy. You just put the documents in, push a button, and they're on your desktop. Then I can email it to somebody. I can save it electronically, or I can do something like that. So that's elimination of paper. That's our number 2 thing. The number 3 thing I want to talk to you about, and I should have done another survey for this, darn it, but I didn't. So I'll just have to wing it on this one. But I want you to ditch your file servers. So in the old days, and I know some of you are still operating this way, you have servers in your office. You might have one server for your art department. You might have one server for your business files, just for everybody to share on the quote network. And the reality is you don't need a network anymore. Your network is the cloud. It's cloud-based. And the benefits that you're going to see for this, and I said maybe even your art files. Art files are a maybe because I know that they're large files sometimes. So you might want to still have your art files locally. That one's kind of debatable. So I'm not really referring to art files here, but I'm really talking more about any of your file shares. So that's not art. So documents, spreadsheets, PDF files, procedures, policies, anything that you have, just get off the file servers. Shopworks, the company, used to have servers. We had a couple of them. Some of them cost, one of them cost $20,000 to purchase it. And then of course it's obsolete in like 6 or 7 years, it was obsolete. So there's that problem with file servers. The other problem is you can't get to all your files from everywhere. There's bad access. A third problem is if you've ever set up access rights on a Microsoft network, it's brutal. So what I'm going to propose that you do is you move to something like Google Docs, Box.com, Dropbox, and there's literally dozens of these products out there. They range anywhere from free to up to $300 per month. Your time investment is going to be on the medium side. Your cost is on the low side. I'm going to talk about cost here in a second. But before I do that, I just kind of want to show you Shopworks, the company, uses Box. And I'm actually logged into my Box account. This is my real Box account. And you can see I have it by department. So if I click on departments, I have it broken into accounting, development, facility, human resources, marketing, sales. You'll organize this what it makes for you, what makes sense for you. But I can easily see which items are just for me, I'm the owner of the business, and which items are shared. And if I want to see something that's shared, I can click on it and I can see who has something shared. So let's say I wanted to add a department, and I'll add a department called, I'm going to add a folder called art. Now, I don't have an art department here at Shopworks, but you get the idea. So I created a new folder on my quote network because this is my cloud network. And I'm going to go to that and I can start dropping files in here or creating subfolders, or I can go to share, and who do I want to share this with? And you can set up groups or you can set up people, and then you have different access rights of what they can do with those files. So once you have it set up, the administration of this is so simple. The other beauty of it is, if we go back here to departments, we can actually use this to share customer facing files. So Shopworks has certain PDF files and certain other files that we want to share with customers, and we can drop those on Box and make them publicly available. So if a customer clicks on a link, and we can even give that link a name, then they can download or view that file. All this is true for all these different products I'm using. You have to experiment with them. You have to find out which one's best for you and make your decision. I love Box. I don't get a penny for telling you that. I've used Google Drive, don't really care for it. I've used Dropbox. I feel like that's more for a family environment, not a corporate environment, but that's just my opinion. Go out. There might be even ones that I don't know about that are new because I haven't looked at this. We're so happy with Box. We switched to Box about probably 7 or 8 years ago. We ditched all of our servers. We moved any servers we needed. We moved to the clouds. That included Box. That included our workflow software. That included everything. So we're a 100% cloud company. We don't store files of any importance on our local machines. None of my employees do either. I'm sure there's some on there, but the reality is we tell them we want everything stored on Box. It's backed up automatically. There's other benefits as well. Now I want to talk about this. I said in here the cost of investment is low. Free, obviously free is low, but $300 per month? How, in what world does Jay think that $300 a month is low? And I do think it's low. For what you get for that $300, I believe it's low. So let me show you what I mean by that. Compared to labor and owning and maintaining servers, $300 a month per low. Yes, absolutely, I believe that. Plus, you're not really comparing apples to oranges. I mean, apples to apples, because when you have a cloud-based network versus a local network, you get access from anywhere on any device. You get customer-facing benefits, which I explained. You get version control. So what I didn't show you in boxes, let's say somebody overwrites one of my files, I can go back and look at the history of those files and I can restore them. Plus, you get automatic backups where there are no backups. Everything's just backed up automatically. That's what the cloud is. So Box is an employee productivity tool. And it saves you money. Now, next thing I wanted to show you quickly is I want to show you this little box analysis I put together for you. So follow along with me here. And also, if you want this little spreadsheet, I'll send it to you. It's not that great of a spreadsheet, but if you email me, I will send this to you. Here's a user count. This is how many employees are using Box. This is an estimated cost. This is not from Box. I just pulled this number, estimated it, because I think that's about what we pay for Box per month. And so that breaks down to a cost per user. Let's call it $17. Now I'm saying the average employee loaded yearly salary. Loaded means everything: taxes, benefits, paid time off, anything that goes in. It's not just their money. It's just what they cost you average, what they cost you per year. And I'm saying my average employee is around 55 grand. And so that comes out to $4,600 per month. So if I divide 17 by this number, I'm increasing my labor cost, if you want to look at it that way, because it's an employee productivity tool. So I'm increasing my labor cost by 0.37%. That's it. So for me to get a benefit from this, I just have to save more than 0.37% of their time needs to be saved to make it worth it to go to Box. And I'll tell you that you're getting a huge return on Box, way more. I mean, you're getting hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year benefit for each employee, just in efficiency. That's my belief. And I've been using Box for, like I said, 7 or 8 years. Okay, well, that's one way to look at it. Let's look at it from a business operational view. So I'm that same business, 16 users on Box, same cost. Okay, now Box is costing, that means Box cost me $3,300 per year, but I'm a $1.5 million company. So as a percentage of revenue, that's 0.2%. Or if you want to look at it as business expenses, let's just say I make 300 grand in profit a year, which is maybe a little high, 20%. But whatever, you can manipulate these numbers. The reality is it doesn't matter. It would jump from 0.28% to 0.56%. Who cares? So what I'm telling you is if you look at it under the perspective of your entire business, you're not really increasing the cost of running your business, but you are increasing the efficiency of it. And then my last analysis is versus server. So up here, this is my Box area. So user count, cost per year. And if I look at my 5-year cost of having Box, it's $16,500. Now, why did I do 5 years? The reason why I did 5 years, because that's what you can expect a server to last you, about 5 years. So Box is costing me $16,500 a year. Okay, over 5 years, excuse me, not per year, over 5 years. Now my server initial cost is $5,000, and that's a cheap server, by the way. So if you wanted to change it, make it $10,000. And I'm saying yearly maintenance is about $1,000. That includes electricity, my network guy to administer my network. If anything goes wrong with the server, administering backups, making sure it's all done properly, setting up access rights. And I think that's a low number too. But whatever, I'm going to go on the conservative side. So I'm saying a 5-year cost for my server is $10,000. So that's a difference of $6,500, which is 65%. Wow, Jay, you're increasing my cost 65%. Man, that's a lot. Yeah, that's not true. Yes, it's true. The math is true. But really, again, you're not comparing apples to apples. And again, I estimated low on these costs. So this 65% number, even if it's 50% more expensive, I'm telling you it's worth it. And as a percentage of cost, it's still nothing. I'm increasing my cost by essentially zero or very little. If you want to save money, and I'm all for saving money, this is not the kind of thing you want to save money on. Okay. I would look for the best product that fits best for your company. They're all going to be basically very similar in cost for the paid ones, and go with the one you like. And if it costs you between $50 and $300 per month based on your business size, it's going to be worth it based on your business size. So that's my little box analysis for you. Okay, let's go back to my presentation. We've gone through 3 of these. Number 4 is workflow management. So as a business that sells embellished goods, maybe you produce them, maybe you don't, maybe you sub them out. It doesn't matter. You still have to manage the workflow of all these goods and orders and customers that you have. You and your staff spend, I estimate, about 3/4 of your time processing orders. Now, that doesn't mean entering orders. I'm talking about everything involved with anything involved with an order. So that includes, no, I'm not talking about sales. Order entry, when customers call and have questions about orders, when you're purchasing goods for orders, when you're pulling inventory for orders, when you're receiving goods for orders, when you're actually producing the order, when you're shipping an order, when you're invoicing an order, when you're all these things. Anything involved with an order is really what you do all day. The other 25% is probably sales and accounting. Your business is complicated. We already talked about this before, but you're custom manufacturing products on very short deadlines. That's complicated. And QuickBooks and other accounting programs are not designed to handle your business. The third point here is if you want to grow your business or save money, then you have to have workflow tools to help. You got to have workflow tools. Now, most people think of a workflow tool as a magnet board or a spreadsheet, and maybe that's the progression you go through. But at some point, you're going to need an integrated software system that helps you manage workflow. And you're going to start in your office. You're going to move that to your shop floor. Now, the cost investment on this is low to high. There's free ones, there's cheap ones, and there's expensive ones. Time investment is always going to be high. And the reason why is because if you don't invest time in your workflow, then because it's going to require you to change procedures, retrain staff, figure out how you want to do things in the new software, you need to make a time investment in this one. And you should spend time even figuring out who you're going to go with. So obviously shopworks makes workflow management. There's other ones I'll show you here in a minute. But this also needs to work hand in hand with procedures. So workflow kind of works hand in hand with procedures. And although I'm missing an L here, it will help eliminate paper. Workflow management, just by having workflow management, it'll help eliminate paper in your shop. And on this same point, so now I'm biased. I'm being upfront with you about that because I own a company that does workflow management products for this industry. So I'm going to throw shopworks in there at the top. There is Printavo. Printavo is one of our competitors, but they have a good product as well. They're more for a little bit maybe smaller shops, a little bit simpler to set up than our system. There's others out there. You need to do your research. You need to tire kick on these products before you go with one. And by tire kicking, I mean doing demos. What items are important to you and your staff? Okay, and make sure you ask those questions during the demo. Ask the salesperson. Ask during your implementation. Be organized. You need to take this seriously. Workflow management software is not like Microsoft Word or simple software where you install it, file open, and next thing you know, you're up and running. That's not how workflow management software works. And what I'm going to show you is our on-site product. This is one we have many demos on on-site, and at the end of this presentation, if you'd like a demo, you can certainly sign up for one, and we'll show you how this can work for your shop. But I'm just going to show you one very simple feature in our software, and that is order status. So you guys have a lot of orders you're always working on. And in our system, if you go to view all orders in progress, you get a quick list of all the orders you're working on. And I can break them down by company and date and design and order type. So we have a concept of order type, and you can create your own order types. But I can click on status, and this is even more important. And I can see what the status is on each of these orders. And this is real-time information. So as someone in my receiving department is receiving something, or as someone is purchasing in our system, that's updating all these order statuses. It's all real time. And so if a customer calls in and they have a question, I can answer that question real time. When you're using paperwork, how do you answer a customer question? Oh, sure, let me go check on the status of your order. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. You hang up the phone, you get it from your desk, and you walk around and you talk to some people. Hey, what's the status of this order? What's the status of this order? What's the status on this order? Or maybe you call them or whatever. And then you call the customer back, okay, got the status on your order, or maybe you email them back. So that's a very time intensive process. If you're doing 5 orders a month, it's not a big deal. If you're doing 30 orders a month, okay. And if you're doing, like in this case, 112 orders per month, yes, that's going to be very cumbersome to do things that way. So that's the order status portion of our system. So again, I'm not going to do a lot of demo on onsite. That's our workflow solution. If you'd like a demo of it, I'll give you some contact information at the end of the presentation. We'd be happy to show it to you and show you how it applies to your business, not just generically like I just did. Okay, let's go on to number 5. Number 5 is something that people don't think about a lot, and that is ways to reduce labor. So number 5 is customer self-service. What does customer self-service means? Customer self-service means that the customer can help themselves. They don't have to call you to get information. They don't have to call you to make a payment. They don't have to call you to do other things. That world is going away. It's still here, but it's going away. And younger customers, as I mentioned before, in particular, love this. And if you have customers that are happy, that means more sales for you, and it's putting less of your labor to service those customers. So if you can do something along those lines, it's going to be very helpful. And lastly, it encourages fast payment. So if you have a customer self-service component where a customer can pay without you having to call them and get credit card numbers, or call them and they tell you they're going to send in a check, anything you can do to speed up that process is going to be good. Cost investment is typically low to medium, and time investment is going to be on the low side. Now, shopworks offers customer self-service products, but obviously you're going to need number 4 first. So before you get into customer self-service, you need workflow management. Because let's say you didn't have workflow management and you have customer self-service. Let's say their customers logging into a website to check the status of their order. Well, how are you going to give them that status? You're going to just put it in there manually. That's how you're going to do it. And that's going to be real cumbersome. So it's really not going to get you much benefit. We have 2 different products. And again, I'm not going to go into these in a lot of detail. I'm going to show them to you very briefly. Proof Stuff is a productivity tool for staff and customers. It helps manage your whole approval process for artwork and order approvals and really any kind of approvals. And I'm just going to show it to you real quick. It has a web-based back end that you can use. I can create proofs from here. I can send them to customers, and I can check on the status of proofs. So this is what the actual customer would see. So how this works is you'd actually send your customer a link, and they would click on that link, and they would pull up the proof. So you're not having to send them attachments. And then when they view that proof, the proof is actionable. So you give them instructions, and these instructions are customizable. But I can see here we want them to look at this design and then sign off on it. And then they sign off on it by either declining or approving. Once they decline or approve, you get notification. You get notified that proof was acted upon, and then you can adjust accordingly. Now, Proof Stuff is also integrated with OnSite. So when you're in our workflow management program and you look at a particular order, there's a Proof Stuff tab. So we have proofs. I can create proofs from when I'm on the order. I can also see the status of proofs. So I can see here, I've sent this guy a bunch of proofs. He declined one. A bunch of them were retired. One's still open, and one was approved. And I can view these and see them right from my on-site system. Our other product for customer self-service is Manage Orders. And that's a customer portal, simply meaning that it's a website where your customer can log in. And once they do so, well, they can actually do it without logging. They can just type in their order number and email address, and they can get order information. Or they can log in. And when they log in, let's say they have multiple orders in the system, they can view those orders. So they can see all of their orders. They can click on the orders, and you control how this looks. You control what information is being shown to them. In this case, they can see their invoice. They can see different detailed information. You can even let them look at their designs. You can let them see their proofs. So it's integrated with Proof Stuff as well. If I had proofs on this particular order, the customer would be able to click on it and they'd be able to see it. You can put package tracking information. And most importantly for you guys, they can pay. You can see over here, they can pay with credit card or they can pay with a check online. And then that automatically feeds back to your on-site system. So again, we're eliminating labor. We're making customers happy. We're getting your people out of being so transactional. And now they can focus on more important work. Okay, so that's it for my 5 ways to reduce labor in your business. I have a bonus one I'm going to show you here, so I'm actually going to give you 6. But while I'm going through that, I see a couple questions came in. I'm going to go through those in a minute. But if you have questions or comments, now's the time to throw them at me. I'm going to let those pile up, and I'm going to give you my bonus number 6, my bonus ways to reduce labor in your business, and that is monitors, monitors, monitors. And that's that simple. Anybody in your company, first of all, computer monitors are cheap these days. They're awesome. They're big. And I recommend every office employee, I put 3 here. Actually, that's my preferred, is 3 monitors for each office employee. But 2 is better than 1. I also recommend you put large monitors on your production floor. Why? Why, Jay? Why do you want all these monitors? Because they increase productivity by a ton. If you have a person who's an office employee and they have 1 monitor and they're using lots of different software programs, they're multitasking, they do so much flipping around. If you just give them that second monitor, even just to put their email on or to put Slack or some sort of communication tool on, and then they have a main monitor and a secondary monitor. The cost investment on this is cheap. I'm going to call it almost zero. It's not zero, but in relation to your business, it is. And your time investment is also super low. This is low hanging fruit, people. If you don't have multiple monitors on all your machines, and I'm going to give you some examples. This is my desk. I'm sitting right here right now, and over on the right, I have all my GoToMeeting tools, and in the middle monitor. Now this is a double monitor. It's a one monitor that kind of curves, and it's a double, so it's physically 1 monitor. So, but effectively, this is like at least 3 monitors. So that's my setup. I'm thinking of adding another monitor, a vertical one. Notice how I have this one oriented vertical for email. I'm going to do another one on the left. I'm going to put Slack in there so I can, because we use Slack for internal communication, and then of course we use email for customer communication, but internally we use Slack. So I want that over on the left side. So anyhow, that's my setup. This is one of my programmers setup, and you can see we've gone to 4 here, 4 monitors. And I don't have a picture of it, but if you send me the link, I think I have an Amazon link of this base. It's a really cool base, and it's extendable, so you can actually go up 3 levels. As crazy as it is, it's solid enough that you can go up 3 levels on this. So this is John, one of our programmers, and he's got a 4 monitor system. And then, and I don't know that you need 4, but I'm just showing you some examples. And then here's Omar. Now, what you learn from Omar in this picture is he likes coffee and he likes Chick-fil-A. And lastly is that he's a monitor addict. And he actually used to have 9. So you can see the little extender here at the top. And he used to have 9 monitors, but he's scaled it back down to 6. I guess 9 was too much for him. And really the only people that need even 6 monitors are like crypto traders, nerds, maybe if somebody's, doing, I don't know, you're doing some sort of online trading, you're watching lots of movies. I have no idea, but this is overkill for me, but it's doable, and this is cheap. These monitors are very inexpensive. At this point, I don't know that you're getting much productivity benefit, but Omar swears by it. He swears that he is. A little bit about shopworks very quickly. We're not a generic software company. All of our software is designed for our industry, which we consider to be the apparel people, promotional products people, digital printers, awards and recognition and fulfillment programs. If you put a logo on something, our software is going to be a good fit for you usually. We've been doing this for a long time. Since 1998, we have over 1,300 installations, and we have experience in doing this. So we've been doing this for a long time. You're unlikely to grow out of our products. Our customers range from 1 concurrent user up to 100 concurrent users, 100 employees on the same software at the same time. All of our support is US based, and our implementation is as well. And we can get you up and running in 30 to 45 days. Now that might sound like a long time to you, 30 to 45 days, but it really isn't, because that involves installation of the software takes half a day, not even. It's really training, procedures, training your staff, setting up your system. That's why it takes 30 to 45 days. And then if you'd like to evaluate our product, if you go to shopworks.com, and that's the correct spelling of our name, by the way, if you want to email me, I'm Jay at that address there. We're happy to do a demo for you, personalized demo for your business. So just reach out to us if you'd like that. If you want to email me, I'll be happy to send you the stuff from today that I mentioned I would send. And with that, I see some questions have come in. Thank you very much for participating. And I'm going to get into the questions. So Neil asks, if we rely on FileMaker on Microsoft File Explorer and mapped drive letters, yeah, that's the system that I'm saying I want you to get away from, or I would suggest it. And I used to do that too. Is there a specific cloud you like? And yeah, the answer for me is Box, but there are other good ones out there. So I want you to do your own evaluation. Maybe you start with Box, but I like Box. Eric Mickelson makes a good point. It's not really a question, but it's a great point. I probably should have brought it up myself. Thank you, Eric. What is the cost if you lose all of your data? Exactly. That's a great point. So if you're on your own, if you have your own on-premises server, you are responsible for your data. Now, I know some people, oh, well, it's in the cloud. Anybody can get to it and hack into it. No, the world doesn't work that way. And the data is much more secure in a legitimate cloud-based company than it is on your own server. Your own server is the riskiest thing you have. Fires, water damage, an employee, pissed off employee destroying the server, somebody breaking into your shop, taking the server, or you just mismanaging it and you somehow delete the data, or a hard drive crashes and you haven't done your backups properly. I've seen all of these in my career at ShopWorks with customers, and it is a miserable experience for them. Miserable. Eric also mentions he just spent $25,000 on a server. Okay, that's a honking server, but most people don't need one that big. But I think my estimate was probably low on the 5K side, so maybe 10K is more realistic. Neil asks, are you running on-site and proof stuff in a web browser without a terminal server? Yes. So, oh no, I'm sorry. Let's see. On-site runs within, well, I'm running it locally. So, meaning I would have to have a local server. So in this demo I'm showing you, this is locally. But in the real world, ShopWorks, the company, runs on this on-site software. The same software that I'm showing you right here is what ShopWorks uses to run our company. And we do use that through, and it's cloud-based, and we use it through what's called an RDP connection. So it's basically a terminal, a remote terminal. And it functions just like it does here. So for the most part, I mean, there's a couple little nuances, but we love that setup. We would never go back to having a hosted server again. Proof stuff and manage orders are both 100% browser based. So these are browser based software because they're customer facing. On-site can be on premises. You can have it on your own server, or you can have it cloud based. There's options there. Frank asks, will manage orders be able to show if a product is pending for any orders? I'm going to say no in the way that you've worded it. What manage orders can do is it can show you order status. And for some reason, we got some sort of glitch here where the order status is not being shown. But the order status here, or maybe we have it set up to where the order status isn't showing on purpose. But the order status here will show if all items have been received or not received. But it does not show the details of what's been received and what's not been received. That's where manage orders doesn't show it. So it only shows the customer part of the story, and that's if it's all been received or not been received or partially received. It does not get into item detail. Neil asks, most of our computers are so old they can't run 3 monitors, and a USB to HDMI takes up too many resources. Need to update PCs first, and that costs a little more. I agree with you 100%. Yes, but the mistake is letting your PCs get too old. So you need to have a budget, a computer budget every year for replacing these PCs because they do get older. The good news is they last longer than they used to. The bad news is you still have to replace them. The other good news is that computers are now way cheaper than they used to be. So yes, that is a factor. But again, Neil, I would challenge you to don't only look at the cost of something. Let's say you have to replace 5 computers and you're saying that's going to cost me $10,000. Okay, don't look at it like, oh, that's $10,000 out of Neil's pocket that's got to go into these computers. What you need to look at is you need to do an analysis similar to this analysis and say, okay, $10,000. it's a lot of money, but what is it really in relation to my business? Now, not knowing your business size, I can't answer that question, but you can. And you just need to understand that these things are costs of doing business. No press runs forever. No embroidery machine runs forever. Any kind of production machine eventually wears out. Computers are the same thing. They're machines. And here's the other thing. It's still cheaper than employees. I don't care what you tell me. Any machine, if I have an employee who costs me $50,000 a year, and I have a robot that costs me a one-time purchase of $200,000, I'm buying the $200,000 robot. If it has more than what's the math on that? If it has more than a 5-year life or whatever the math is, then I break even. But it's probably gonna have a life longer than that. So you just have to understand automation is cheaper than people. So whenever you have an argument of, oh, this is gonna, yeah, but that's gonna cost me money. Well, you're spending the money right now. In spades, you're spending it, because that money, by your employees working on those slow computers, it's taking them longer to do something. And then your counter argument is, well, no, it doesn't, because I'm paying them to be there anyhow, so it doesn't matter as long as they get their work done. Again, false argument, doesn't hold water. It does cost you more. They could do more transactions or different kind of stuff, or you could have less labor if your computers were faster and you could get things done faster. So you just have to look at it through a little bit different lens. Hopefully this presentation today helped a little bit with that. John asks, what are the costs to get shopworks and the other add-ons? John, that's a great question. I can't answer. I'll give you kind of like some ballpark answers, but I can't give you real answers because it depends on number of users and features and and if you're doing managed orders and proof stuff. Proof stuff is $75 a month to start, and that's unlimited number of users. That's our cheapest product. On-site ranges from $40 per user per month on up, and managed orders is kind of tied into your on-site in its pricing. It does cost additional. It's not a lot additional, but like I think for a 5-user system, it might be $199 per month, which breaks out to $20 more per user. So that's a real ballpark answer for you. If you're interested more in pricing, you can contact us on the website, and I'll have the sales staff talk to you. And just so you know, guys, we're not a hard sell company. So yes, we want you to look at our product. Yes, you want to consider us, but we're not going to pester you and call you. If you ask me a question about pricing, we're not going to call you 5 times a day if you're going to buy our system or rent our system. That's just not how we operate. So we're more into showing the product, and if the product fits well for your company, we're pretty confident you'll go with us, and that's kind of more of our sales proposition. Melissa asked a great question, and I know Melissa is a shopworks customer already because of the way she worded the question. Of course, I also know her by name, but she said, why Slack and not Focal Point? Great question. So Focal Point is an older feature that's in our on-site system. And I'm not going to really I might not even have it set up properly. Here's the Focal Point tool. Well, maybe I do. So it's a kind of like an internal messaging system from within on-site. And it's really good for transactional stuff. So for example, if you're an on-site and I'm on a sales order and I send a message, an internal message to another employee, that message stays on the order. And so in your guys' world, Melissa, if I was running your business, I would use Focal Point. The thing is with Shopworks, our company, we don't use Slack. We're not communicating on orders. We're doing other kinds of order communication. So other kinds of communication outside of orders. So we're doing more departmental organization or group type conversations and stuff like that. So Focal Point is more designed around transactions in the on-site system, which we don't use it for. And Slack is really a better tool for like kind of more generic conversations amongst a group. I will tell you that we are going to start integrating Slack into some of our products, probably starting later this year. You'll see options to have Slack integrations built into our different systems. But that's a great question, and that's my answer for you. So what I'm saying is, depending on your situation, you might not want to ditch Focal Point. Focal Point is very good for transactions within on-site. But if you're doing a message to a group of people, or you want to have more dynamic conversations back and forth, I think Slack is a better tool for that. For example, we use Slack for, hey, are you on the phone right now? I got a quick question. It's more of an instant messaging, whereas Focal Point is more based around transactions. So hopefully that answered your question. John asks, what is the max size file you can send through Proof Stuff? I want to say it's either 2 or 5 megabytes. We've increased it over the years. But your question, so Joe, the answer is you don't really want to send large files for your proof stuff because it's not intended to be camera ready artwork. These should be PDF files typically, or JPEG images, which are not going to be, you don't want to be sending 2 gigabyte files through this. It's not designed for camera ready artwork. It's designed for approvals of layout and things like that. So, I mean, you can have a lot of detail in a PDF document. It's still only going to be, 1.5 megabytes. So, yeah, that's kind of our approach there. John asks, he'd like more information how it all works. Okay, John, I'll pass your contact information that I got from GoToMeeting, and I'll pass it along to one of our people in our sales department. And like I said, we're not a high pressure sales. They're just going to contact you to set up the demo that you'd like, and then we'll show you the software and see if it's a good fit. All right, that's it for the questions. I really appreciate everybody's time today, and I just want to give you a last invitation. If you would like any of the resources I mentioned during this presentation, just email me, jay@shopworks.com, and I will be happy to email those to you tomorrow, as well as the link to the video that's available too. So thanks again for your time, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you in the next webinar.